All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Lasting Learning Podcast. If you're a person that typically listens to these when they are released once a week, you might have recognized or realized that it's been a few weeks. That's because I had to take a pause. Being quite frank, quite honest, just wasn't feeling it. Wasn't feeling the energy to rearrange the schedule and to try to fit things in. But I'm back, and I'm back for one very important reason. Our guest today. That's right. But there's few people in the world that will inspire me to carve an hour out of my Sunday afternoon to just sit down and talk. But today, I've got one of those people. Today, I've got a friend on who I'm just really, really excited to get to connect with. She's one we've been trying to schedule this now for a couple of months, and just things just keep getting in the way. So today, we are making sure that we get to sit down and have this conversation. She is real. She is inspirational. She is dynamic. She is smart. She is passionate. She is all the things that we all want to be. Today, I've got the great Pamela Hall. Pam, thank you so much for being here today.
Woo! My goodness. I feel like I'm at an award ceremony. That was a great introduction.
Well, I'll
Dave.
start playing
Thank
the music
you.
here in about 30 seconds. You can walk off the stage, all awkward, not getting any of your speech out, but that's okay. Now, I'm super excited to be able to hang out today.
Me too. And I think this is the best time. So I'm glad we waited.
Awesome. Yeah, it's one of those, it's like Christmas, right? Christmas, we thought it was coming, and then it just kept getting delayed and kept getting delayed. But we're here now, and today we get to just unwrap all the presents and just really get to enjoy this moment. So, Pam, for those people that don't know who you are, what you're about, what you do, where you do it, all those, can you just take a few minutes and just unpack some of that for people and introduce yourself?
Absolutely, Dave. So I'm currently an elementary engineering teacher for Carrollton Elementary. That's in Isle of Wight County Schools, Smithfield, Virginia. So think ham. If you've had ham, Smithfield ham, that's the area that I'm from. And I absolutely love what I do because I'm now 30 plus years into education. And I have to say, I'm more on fire now than ever for multiple reasons. The first reason is I just love getting kids to think deeper, and everything I get to do is hands-on and the engineering process. So I really love what I get to do. I get to work with 700 students. So I feel like that's a tall order. I got to make sure that I'm right. So, because I'm reaching all those kids. And also, I'm just more passionate than ever now. I'm a multi-national award-winning teacher. I don't say that to brag. It's actually a reflection of all the amazing people that have been in my life and that I've learned from. But my mission now is to help educators connect with all students, even the challenging ones, and to develop a powerful mindset and to go from depleted to delighted with my strong program. Because I know that when we're strong and when we're doing things that fill us up, just like you asked me, you took a pause because you needed to be filled up. When we're doing the things that fill us up, guess what? We are dynamite and we can reach those kids. We are better to reach them. And I'm just all about, I want to help educators because they are helping our next generation. And I want our best people to stay in the field, not run.
Wow. First of all, amazing introduction of yourself. It's so powerful and so many things in there that I want to try to tackle and address. I had notes of some things that I wanted to talk about, but I'm going to start off with something that wasn't even on my notes. You live in pig country. How did I not recognize that? So I actually grew up for 3 or 4 years of my childhood hanging out in Norfolk, Virginia. So I know where you're at. But I didn't realize that was pig country there. I knew there were tons of pigs in North Carolina. I didn't realize that they were up along the Chesapeake Bay area. So that's fascinating to me. I learned something today. So let me just be real. What's it smell like there?
Okay,
Does it smell
so
like honey baked ham in the oven, or does it smell like, there's pigs outside all the time?
I don't live anywhere near the packing plant, so I don't smell anything. It's not like a paper mill town.
Okay.
But the next time you see Gwaltney ham, or you have a ham sandwich, or you're buying ham for the holidays and it says Smithfield ham, woohoo, you can think of me.
So basically what you just told us is the next time you think pig, thank you. Okay,
no!
I got you. Fair enough.
Are you wanting me to snort? Is that what it is?
Oh, it's all good. It's all good. I get what you're saying. It's no worries. So you live in pig country, you live in ham country. This coming Easter, everybody's gonna be thinking about you and thinking about this episode and all the amazing lessons they learned. So you just gave us that little trigger, that little cue that's gonna bring us back, which is awesome. I'm always looking for that. So you're also, I feel like, aside from living in pig country and hanging out in God's country, you're doing a lot of things that are defying odds and defying stereotypes. And I'm just going to put some of these things out there, if that's okay. Being an educator for more than 30 plus years is such an anomaly these days, when the average educator is lasting 4.7 years right now, 30 plus years. And some would say it's because you started your career back when it wasn't as hard, which I completely disagree with. I believe it's always hard. It's just a different kind of hard and different obstacles for us to entertain right now. And some would argue it's even harder to continue to come back right now when you've had the opportunity to do things in other ways and focus on other priorities. So that's one area. Second, being this amazing woman teaching elementary students principles of engineering, in which you also sprinkle in agricultural phenomenon within. I mean, so many amazing things that I want you to just dive into. So let's first go teaching, being an educator for 30 plus years. How and why?
So I don't have the standard answer. I really believe it's my God-given gift. And in those 30 years, I haven't always been happy. I mean, and sometimes we don't have to be happy to get the job done. We've got to remember our why.
I gotta just, that's power. I want you to say that again. You don't always have to be happy. What? It's like sacrilege in today's world. But okay, I just wanted to bring that back out again. You don't always have to be happy to do the job. Okay, carry on now. I just wanted to make sure that I heard that correctly.
Right. So I think it's the passion. Why are you doing it? That's what makes you happy. When you have a meaning and purpose in your life, it's not the circumstances, it's meaning. Most people, everybody wants to be doing something meaningful. And if nobody thinks educating is meaningful, then I don't want to meet them. Whoever that is, I don't mean nobody. Whoever thinks education isn't meaningful, then I don't want to meet them, because it is extremely meaningful. And along that 30 plus year journey, I have stayed true to what my mentor told me way back when I was an apprentice. And he said, trends will come and go, tides will change. And he's just like, cling to what you know is best for kids, cling to loving those kids, and nothing else matters. And so really that's how I've done it. Just keep believing in kids, love kids, do what is best for them. And, trends just come in different packages. I have found over the years, it's the same great thing. It's just packaged differently now, new and improved. And the bottom line is best practices are best practices. So cling to those best practices. Sure, learn to use new tools, because that's going to work. But that's not the principle that's helping kids. Those are tools and flashy things and methods, but cling to principles and use the methods that meet those principles, that meet the needs of all kids. And I just want to also add in there, it's been 4 years ago now, I actually reached extreme burnout. I almost exited education. And that's what led me to writing my book that's coming out, Be Their Warrior, and it has a whole principle in there about staying strong. So it's really important. Self-care is a jargon word these days, but it really is important to take care of yourself, to be proactive, not reactive, not wait till it starts all falling apart and you're unraveled and, oh my gosh, I'm in crisis mode. What the heck am I going to do? But have a plan of filling yourself up and protecting your time and your space, so you're proactive all the way along the way. Because we've all heard you can't pour from an empty vessel. So
Right.
yeah, that's
Right.
how 33 years.
So it's
Or-
a powerful message. I think there's a lot of popular messaging today would tell us to continue to bounce around and explore, to just follow your heart, which I get. But the idea that our emotions are fickle and our emotions don't always tell us the truth. And sometimes you wake up in the morning and you're just not feeling it. It reminds me of what a marriage counselor told me years and years and years ago. There are going to be days that I wake up in the morning and I'm thinking, is this really where I want to be? But it's a choice, right? It's a choice to say, I'm going to choose to be intentional today. I'm going to choose to make some decisions today. And we make bad choices. There are days where we want to exit. There are days where we say, I want to go, I want to get out. But it's a choice to get up and say, no, I'm going to do the best that I can. And I hear you arguing for the same thing in education. We need good people that are willing to stay, not to put up with everything, not to say they're just going to tolerate it and be
Right.
abused. In those cases, leave, but to stay in for the right reasons, which is to change the lives of kids. And you're giving us some practical things that we can do to stay in it, to stay in the game, to lead and to change destinies, which I think is so admirable. And it's the message that we need to hear today. So I'm excited for so many people to pick that up and to read it and to hear your words of wisdom and to learn your journey, to learn your story, and to learn your methodologies. Can I circle back? You say that, you have to stay true to your why. In your world, what you're teaching, I have to ask just very bluntly, why do you teach what you teach? Engineering to elementary kids. Why? Where does that fit in?
All right. So I will answer that question, Dave, but I just want to finish out with that people can stay in education. Like, I have shifted roles. So when I get to that place where I just think I cannot keep going, I shift roles and I find something new. So that's how I ended up being an elementary engineering teacher. Is I was teaching first grade, and honestly, I was extremely burnt out, and I felt like I'd master it. I'm not trying to say that out of bragging, but it just didn't feel exciting to go to work anymore. And I still love kids and want to impact them. So that's how I ended up as an elementary engineering teacher. And the reason I love it so much is it's all about thinking. So I love the saying that, kids aren't vessels just to be filled up. Education is the lighting of a fire and showing them how to think. And so I get to do that. I get to help them actually think, not just regurgitate an answer, but what do you think? There's more than one way to solve a problem. Hey, let's work together. And so, it's talked about a lot, the 5 C's and the life of a graduate, and what are our students going to do college career ready. Well, I feel like I get to do that. They have hands-on learning. They get to come up with real solutions and create prototypes. And then they tell me like, oh, look, that's engineering and that's engineering. And even all the way down to preschool, because I teach preschool, they know you don't give up. You keep trying. The great things in this world come to be in existence because someone didn't give up. And this day and age, Everybody wants to try something once or twice, boom, on to the next thing. And no, we got to be tenacious and persistent. That's way better than, I think, intelligence. If you can keep persisting and think of another way, you can go find a smart person to help you. So I could go on and on, but that's why I do what I do.
That's so good. It reminded me of the conversation I had with my oldest son this week. So my oldest son is a sophomore in high school, and we're starting to talk about what life is going to look like outside of high school, and talking, is college where he wants to go, and is it not? What's the purpose of it? And I started talking to him a little bit about getting a liberal arts degree, and said, it's funny, liberal arts is that degree where a lot of people say, what will you ever do with a liberal arts degree? What kind of career can you have? And I said, my personal opinion is a person with a liberal arts degree can do anything they want to do. They haven't carved out a niche to say, this is what you have to do, this is your major. They have learned to think. They have learned to question. They have learned to adapt. They've learned skill sets that they can transfer to a lot of different passions and a lot of different careers. And in a way, I kind of hear that that's what you're doing. You're doing it through the lens of engineering, which doesn't mean your kids are just building bridges all day long. It means that they are learning how to do a bunch of skills that they can transfer to all aspects of their life. You're not creating future engineers. You're creating future problem solvers, future questioners, future change agents, which that excites me. That fires me up. But I also know that if you said, I teach liberal arts to an elementary school, you'd be run out of town in most schools, right? So you're an engineering teacher to elementary kids. I love it. I love it. So what does that look like on a day in and day out basis? What kinds of things do your kids do?
Oh, wow. Okay. So let's just look at the week that's coming up. So for kindergartners, they're using something called Kiva planks, and they always have to solve a problem. So I give them a problem. So for them, it's something simple, like we read the book Chicka Chicka Boom Boom. And then now they have to construct the Chicka Chicka Boom Boom tree and be able to hang at least 5 letters from their tree. Doesn't sound so amazing, but that takes communication skills for them. And again, tenacity. Their tree falls over because they don't quite have the fine motor skills. And so I'm teaching them to fail forward fast. Okay, fine, it fell. Build it again. Let's try it another way. And I think that's my favorite thing to do from starting with kindergarten up. Fail forward fast. We know what doesn't work. Now let's figure out the way that it does work. So in my room, I have a huge sign, mistakes are for learning. And so they all know that we learn from every mistake we make. I make mistakes. And when I sometimes model a prototype for them, I always tell them, I said, this isn't the only way. I'm just showing those of you that need this support. But my 3rd graders are solving hurricane issues. Like, how can you create a hurricane-proof house? And so they work together to come up with a design, and they have to make a blueprint. And then the part that's hardest for them is they want to use their blueprint. So they have to really teach them conversational skills. These are the things you would say to your partner. You wouldn't say, well, that's dumb, we're using mine. No, we're not going to do that. We're going to say things like, could you please tell me more about that? Or what will happen when this happens? What do you think? What were you thinking? So I teach them, like you said, life skills.
What I'm hearing you say, and I hope you take this the right way, and I hope I'm going to say it, I'm going to Schmidt-wise this, which means it's going to come out horribly. So make this better. But what I'm hearing you say is, although you're a specialized teacher, the kids come to you to get this experience and this exposure. Truly what you're doing is what all teachers should do. And I'm not trying to say that all teachers can do what you're doing, but I'm saying all teachers should be doing what you're doing. Is that fair?
It is fair. And I think that's why I love it so much, because I actually was doing these things in my core classroom or whatever people call it, gen ed classroom. And so now I just get to do it all day long, every day. And I don't want to make it seem like all we do is play. It is real work and thinking for them and incorporating scientific principles and mathematics. So they're measuring, they're learning about, my second graders were building ramps, pulleys, and what else were they building? Ramps, levers. And they had to learn with the lever, which was a catapult, and they love flying objects through the room, is, where you place the fulcrum matters. How long, how short. And I don't tell them the answer. They are scientists and engineers. They explore that, and then they have to record their data. So it's incorporating all the standards.
Well, I'm going to push back on something you just said. And I'm going to say the kids in your class are playing, and thank God they have a place where they can play. I hate that you have to caution yourself and say, I don't want people to think that all they're doing is playing. I want to make sure that this is an opportunity for you to speak and not me putting words in your mouth and people not taking my words and associating them with you. So this is Dave Schmittou speaking now, people. So you can completely disagree with this. But I think about my kids. I've got 4 kids. And when I have the chance to take them to the park, and I have the chance all the time, I just think other things get in the way and I make them a priority. But I know my kids learn a ton when they're at the playground and playing. When they're on the seesaw, the teeter-totter, they're experiencing levers and the fulcrum. They might not know the vocabulary words associated with it, but they understand that my daughter weighs more than my son, so they have to adjust it so that they can be balanced. They understand how a swing works, and they're looking at the pendulum and looking at motion and inertia. They're learning practical things that they can apply and transfer to other aspects of life. They might not experience them sitting in a row in a desk with a table and a clipboard. They might not be learning the vocabulary that I think is important, but they're learning the skill sets. So don't apologize for giving your students an opportunity to play, to experiment, and to explore. I would challenge, they're probably learning a whole lot more in a very real way than they are in a lot of other classrooms where they're getting worksheets and textbooks to read. So again, Dave Schmittou, don't want to put words in your mouth, but feel free to react to any that you want to, Pam.
I think you summed it up. I'm a firm believer, especially I teach elementary. So I think all kids need to play though, because when I used to have partnerships and mentorships with middle school children coming to my first grade, they'd always go to the Legos. So I think we all need to play, adults too. I just wrote about that today. We got to play.
That's exactly what I was going to say. And I would argue that your career has been this avenue of playing and exploring and trying to figure out which playground equipment you want to spend most of your time on, right? It's not that you've bounced around, but you have carved out your niche to say, where are my strengths? Where are my skills? What do I know? And how can I apply those best? For me, when I'm at the playground, I don't really care for the slide all that much. I stick to it. It's not very fun. It's hot. I will just spend all my time on the swings because I love the swings. I love the way that feels. I'm still learning. I'm still applying. I'm still playing. It's in our adult world, in our careers, we need to find our avenue of playing. Where can we go to continue to learn, continue to explore, continue to smile and giggle and have fun? And I feel like just listening to you talk right now, you're in that mode right now. You're in a place right now where you are playing every day when you show up to work.
Yeah, it still has its stressors.
Yeah.
Just like everyone else. But I'm a firm believer in what we think about, our actions will follow. So I don't think about, excuse my mouth, I don't think about all the crap. Right. I could settle in on all the crap and settle in on complaining. It's still really hard. It is really hard. And I hear all of you. It is hard. But I'm not going to stay there.
Right.
I'm going to say, it's hard. Now, what am I going to do about it?
I love that. So I was sitting in church today, and I'm going to bring church into this message. So I apologize. But my pastor made a statement to me, and I thought it was powerful. He said, it's not about choosing hard versus easy. It's about choosing your hard. Choose the hard that works best for you. And I think so many people are out there constantly looking for the easy route, and then they get frustrated when they realize, well, the easy was hard and it ended up being difficult. And there were all these stumbling blocks. Teachers, educators, your job is so hard. God bless you for doing what you do. It is so hard. Yeah, we want it to be more efficient. We want it to be more effective. We want less arbitrary hoops to jump through. But
Yes.
even when all the bureaucracy is gone, if somebody were to come in and say all of those hoops that you jump through are no longer, your job is still hard because you are changing destinies, you are changing lives. As a father of 4 kids, I don't have bureaucracy. I don't have people coming in and evaluating me as a parent and holding my job in the balance. But being a parent is super hard because I know my kid's future is at stake. And that's the case for teachers and educators. Your job is hard. So choose your hard. Choose the right fight to fight. Choose the thing that's going to matter to you most. And like you said early on, choose your why. Your why doesn't mean remember all the warm fuzzies and do the things that give you goosebumps. It means choose the things that matter most to you. And I think that that's what's allowed you to do what you're doing now. And you're in your 4th decade of doing this, by the way. Into your 4th decade.
Thanks,
You're
Dave.
welcome. You're welcome. But that's what's allowed you to stay true to this. If you recognize that it's hard, but you're choosing the hard things to fight for. So what are the things that you would fight for right now in education? What are the things that matter most to you?
So it changes. And I think sometimes as educators, we get stuck on, this is my why, make a difference for kids. It can change sometimes day to day. There's like the overarching umbrella is make an impact with kids. And then there is, the day-to-day change. One year, it was a picture of a student, and I hung that picture up because that student was so hard. Some days I didn't even want to go to work. I had knots in my stomach because I did not know what circus act was going to happen when I walked through that door. But here's the thing, that child, and at least 6 out of any classroom, it does not matter your background, your ability, what school, they say zip code, it does not matter. Approximately 6 out of 10 of our students have experienced an adverse childhood experience. That's trauma, some sort of trauma in their lives. And I've just been reading a book by Dr. Burke Harris about how childhood trauma, ACE, is tied to adult illnesses like diabetes, obesity, and heart disease. So I'm more convinced now than ever that we've got to love on those babies and help those babies. And when I say babies, I don't care how old you are. You can be in high school and I'm going to love on you because it's through the love and teaching you strategies and identifying your triggers and identifying your emotions and guiding you through and navigating you through all that mess, that you'll be a productive, amazing adult and you won't have to drag that baggage with you. And so that's my why. I'm on fire to help all kids. And the way to do it is help teachers and kids.
Wow. Again, you're preaching right now. And I want you to just keep going. But you're helping kids by trying to help teachers, right? So again, I'm going to bring back up your book. Normally, I don't just say, let's talk about somebody's book, but I want to talk about your book because that's the purpose of your book right now. It is to help teachers. What specifically are you trying to help teachers with?
So it's multifaceted. I want them to know that they're not alone. I'd like for them to be inspired. I want them to have strategies that resonate. So I have strategies woven throughout. What do you do with a hard child? What do you do with a kid that's angry? I have strategies for that. And so there's 3 principles. Principle 1 is culture. So every chapter is about building your culture and what that looks like and how do you do that. And yes, of course, it's standing at the door and greeting, but it's also farewelling. What note do you leave them on? And there's more to that. So I break that down. And then the second principle is community. And so in community, it's all about the relationship. So for me, the culture is creating It's like in your home, you're creating the environment that's safe and beautiful and has trust. So then the community can happen. But you got to have the culture before you can have all those beautiful relationships. So then the second principle is about the community and connecting your relationship with your learners, learners' relationships with learners, our relationships with families, our relationships with the community, like our town, the community we live in, and then our relationship with our peers, our colleagues. We don't have to be besties, but when we're getting along and we're doing better, statistics say student achievement goes up. So what could we be doing better because our kids are watching us? And then the third principle is really where I wanted to start the book, but my friend told me, you can't start with that because everybody knows they're supposed to do it and they don't. And it's being strong. And it's really about your personal development, self-development. And each letter is a step in strategy to be strong.
Again, I'm super excited because I feel like this was written for me. You know, I'm going to go back. One of the things I think I'm super intrigued about, a concept that you mentioned kind of just in passing, is the idea of farewelling. You know, we see all the YouTube videos out there. We see all the people that have the amazing handshakes, the way that they greet their kids, all kinds of amazing things to say, welcome to my world. But we don't spend a lot of time saying, then what? At the end of our time with them, how do we send them off? And as a guy that travels a lot, I'm thinking about how important that is for my own kids. When I leave, the messages I have to send them, the notes I have to leave them, the hugs I have to be able to provide them as I leave them, as I say farewell, is way more important to them at times than when I come home. Sometimes because you have that relationship with somebody, the simple eye contact and the acknowledgement that you exist is all that's needed to re-enter. But when you're sending them away to a world where we're not in control of what happens in their life for 50 minutes or an hour, we're sending them out into the world, to their home, to their community. The way that we send them out is so important. So I love that is a part of your message to remind us all, because it's super important. And it's one of those hard things that we have to remember. Just like being strong is a hard thing that we have to remember. So this book it's going to be incredible. I can't wait. And before we went live, though, we were talking a little bit and we were joking and talking about how we kind of both struggle with this imposter syndrome thing at times and think, oh, is this good enough for people? Is this what people need to see? Are we saying the right things? Are they going to feel the same way that we feel? I'm telling you right now, I feel it. I'm excited about it. I can't wait. But why in the world would you feel that way? You're amazing. You're a rock star. You're killing your career right now. You're changing kids' lives, doing things that we all wish we could do, saying things that we all believe and you've got the courage to say. So why does this imposter syndrome thing creep into you a little bit? Why do you feel like, oh, is this good enough? Where's that come from?
Well, Dave, thank you for the affirmation. I think it comes from two places. Number one is the desire that it really makes a difference in people's lives, that all the time and energy that anybody that's an author or anyone who makes a course or puts themselves into something to help someone else better themselves, because we're all educators at heart, right? So I think there's that, like, what if it doesn't make a difference? What if it doesn't resonate? And I don't think I'm worried about criticism because that's going to happen no matter what. So I think when I think I had this image of that's unattainable. Let's just call it what it is. I wish I weren't a perfectionist. I've pretty much overcome that, but golly days, it still sneaks in there.
It sounds like you need to sit in your own class one of these days and you need to remind yourself to fail forward, that it's not always going to be perfect every single time. Sometimes the tree is going to fall down and you just got to sit back and say, how can I make it better? So when you're in school tomorrow, I want you to listen to the words that you're telling those little babies and let those sink in for you as well. But that's the nature of the beast. We all do that. We tend to preach the loudest the message that we need to hear. So listen to your own words, and people that are listening to this know that I'm listening to my words right now as well. And I hope that you are too. I hope that you're listening to this and saying, it's not about encouraging failure. It's encouraging people to learn from their failures. It's encouraging people to say, I can still make things better, which is so good. So Pam, I'm curious, I do this in all of my podcasts. I always ask people, if you had the opportunity to speak to the world and to leave them with a mic drop moment, to leave them with a message that you hope that they resonate on and they circle back to, and when they think about you, that they associate with you outside of living in pig country, what is that mic drop moment that you would have for people that you want them to center in on? What do you feel like the theme of all of this is for you?
The theme. Okay, so the pressure. So I think I have three things that I'd like to share. And the first one is, for all of us, get out of your fishbowl, because getting out of your fishbowl broadens your perspective. And I find that people that get out of their fishbowls complain less, because they've gained more empathy and more understanding, because they've broadened their experiences and they can bring those experiences to their students. And it's all about perspective. So I'd say, yeah, get out of your fishbowl and it will help you lead with new lens. The second thing is take your cues from nature. So I talk all about being strong. The way you can be strong is just take a look at nature. Everything in nature has rhythms, routines, and rest. And make rest part of your rhythm and your routine. Like I was out running, I saw leaves are being shed from trees. What do we need to shed in our lives that's weighing us down? The trees do it. So get it off so that you can be excited about what you do. And my husband and I were pulling weeds and pruning trees, and that leads to strong too. What do you need to prune off, take away? Because when you prune, what comes back is bigger and better and produces fruit. And what we need to weeds suck our nutrients. So we got to get rid of the weeds. And then the third thing is be grateful. And I know we hear be grateful, but I really mean be grateful in all circumstances. A year ago, I was being wheeled into the ER and I was not grateful. I was focused on the pain. Stop this pain now. And then I had many months ahead of me of just being able to walk. And the thing is, I started being grateful for just a breath. I'm awake today. I started being grateful for I took a step today. And I think so often I and all of us, we get wrapped up in what we're doing and we take all the small things for granted. So be grateful no matter what your circumstances are. They could be 99% bad. There is still 1% good. So just being grateful. Yeah.
That is so, so good. Now, what you just said, it reminded me, I was reading a book a while ago, and the author's gonna, I can't remember. I will try to remember it and drop it in show notes when I have it. That was describing about 15 years ago, there was a biodome that was built out in the desert southwest of America. In essence, what they did was they created this artificial environment surrounded by glass, and they were trying to replicate to see if this was something that they could create on other planets in other ways. Could they create a false society, if you will? And they planted tons of agriculture and trees and plants and gave it all of the elements needed minus the pollution. The grass was fine, the bushes were growing, trees were growing, but as soon as the trees got to about 8 to 10 feet, they all started falling over. And the scientists could not figure out what was wrong. And they realized after countless studies that in their biodome, they were lacking one very important thing. They were lacking wind. They were lacking something that constantly pushed the trees so that they were forced to create roots that allowed them to stand up strong. And the trees got so top heavy that they kept falling over because they hadn't been tested by the elements. And we all need those elements in order to grow strong, to plant those roots and to keep
That's
growing.
good.
Isn't it? It's powerful that we try to put ourselves in these bubbles, in these artificial environments that don't let anything bother me. And if something bothers me, I'm just going to uproot and leave, as opposed to allowing those your roots to grow stronger, for you to get a firmer foundation and continue to thrive. So I'm taking your mic drop moment and I'm adding on to it. I apologize, but you put this thought in my head that I had dismissed when I read this a while ago, and you just put it back into my firm foundation right now. So thank you for that. And again, that's what you do as this engineering teacher. You're giving people these transferable skills. Everything that you're saying to me right now, I'm transferring to other little nuggets that I've learned. I'm thinking, oh, that makes sense now. I know how to apply that now. So that's why you're amazing. That's why you're an awesome educator, because you're focusing on the right things and allowing us all to learn and grow. So good. So good. So your book is coming out. Let's end it with your book title and how can people connect with you?
All right, Dave. Well, before that, I just want to say you are awesome. And I'm so thankful to have connected with you. So thanks.
Making me blush.
So book title is Be Their Warrior, Helping All Students Succeed Through Culture, Community, and Being Strong. And STRONG is an acronym because, we educators love acronyms. And so it's 6 steps. It's actually available right now on Amazon, the Kindle version. The printed version should be available maybe next month. Launch date, January 23rd. And you can connect with me at my website, which is Pam Hall, numeral 2, inspire.com. And I'd love for you to join the hundreds of people that I send you twice a month, weekly inspiration. So
that's awesome. And again, those of you that are overachievers and you actually read the show notes, I'll have all those things listed down below. So read it, subscribe, connect, do all the things. You'll continue to learn, you'll continue to grow, you'll continue to be inspired and tested. So eventually you can look back on it and say, wow, I made a difference. I remembered my purpose, and that's why I'm still here. Pam, thank you again so much for being here today, connecting with all of us, for doing what you do every single day, showing up and staying strong. You are an inspiration.